Chosen one, this is the fifth time, not the second, not the third, the fifth time that something from beyond the noise of your ordinary week has placed itself directly in front of you. And every time before this one, something got in the way. A distraction arrived. A thought said this was not for you. A sound from another room. A sudden heaviness that told you this could wait until later. And you almost left, not because you did not care, not because you were empty of hunger for what was being offered, but because the world is very skilled at making the sacred look like the ordinary, and very good at making what matters most feel like can wait until tomorrow. And so, each time you pulled back, each time the moment folded itself quietly into the architecture of your story and waited for the next door. But God said, not this time. He said it the way a father says it when he has been standing at the door a long time. Not in frustration, but in the deep and steady knowledge that when you finally open it, everything is going to change. He said it the way someone says it when they have already decided the outcome and are simply waiting for the person they love to catch up to what has already been written, not with desperation, with certainty. And here you are. You are still here, and I want you to sit with that for a moment, because this is not a small thing. The fact that you are in this exact space, at this exact moment, with every previous almost behind you, and this fifth invitation in front of you, is not a coincidence. It is a deliberate appointment. And what is waiting inside it has been prepared for you with more precision than you currently know how to measure. Something has been pulling at you for a very long time, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the quiet and persistent quality that only real things carry. You have felt it in the in-between moments, in the silence after a long conversation, in the early mornings before the world begins asking things of you, in the stillness of a night when everything was supposed to be fine, and yet something inside you knew that fine was not the word for what you were living. As you looked at the lives of those around you, who seemed settled, who seemed to have found their groove, and who seemed to have arrived at their destination, you may have felt the same way. That feeling is not imagination. It wasn't because you weren't thankful or because you were comparing yourself to others who were mean. It was because you had a knowing that kept coming up. There is more than this. There is something specific and huge that I was built for, and I have not yet fully stepped into it. The way you feel is information. It is the mark of a life that was meant to do a certain thing. And it has been telling you the truth about yourself for a long time. even before you knew how to say it. That person is you, and God has tried to tell you that 4 times before this one, through 4 different doors and in 4 different ways. It happened a long time ago, the first time. The part of you that was there does remember the exact moment, even if you don't. There was a time in your life when something changed. The normal flow of your days was thrown off by something that didn't fit with your mood. The weather, or the normal feel of being human. A dream that stayed with you longer than most dreams do. A word spoken by someone you barely knew, almost a stranger. But it hit you like it was meant to speak to the core of who you were. A moment in a quiet room, on a walk, or in the middle of a small task that shouldn't have made you feel anything special. For a few seconds, you felt like something huge was very close to you, not threatening, present, watching and aware of you in a way that went beyond normal awareness. That was the first time God reached out to you through a small crack in the everyday. He wasn't asking for anything big or urgent, just for you to notice. He was putting his hand near yours and waiting to see if you would take it. But the week went on, and the dream faded the way dreams fade. When you wake up and feel like doing something useful. The person's word was lost in the flow of all the other things that needed your attention, and the moment wrapped itself around you and waited. Res. CTA 1. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. It was a different season the second time. You were older in more ways than one. You had to deal with responsibilities and disappointments that you hadn't planned for in life, and the unique weight of taking care of people who couldn't always take care of themselves. It's something that people built like you do all the time. You hold things together with the strength and grace that comes so naturally to them that no one else really understands what it costs. There was also an event in the middle of that season that shouldn't have been possible. You didn't knock on the door that opened, but it did. A connection was made in a way that didn't make sense based on how connections usually happen. Something happened that ended in a way that made you quiet. You weren't loudly happy, but you knew that something bigger than coincidence was at work in your story. That person said the exact thing you had been meaning to say to yourself for months, but couldn't. Something good happened from a direction that didn't make sense for why it happened. Something that had been out of place for a long time moved in a way that you didn't expect. That was the second time God reached out to you. It wasn't with thunder or a sign that was so clear it didn't need to be interpreted. With the kind of intervention that makes your life look normal to people looking in from the outside, but you knew deep down that it wasn't normal at all, even before you had proof. Again, something took place. You might have thought it was luck and moved on. It's possible that the moment of recognition was followed right away by fear. Why? Because sometimes when God opens a door, seeing what's on the other side is scarier than the door not being there. When something is that big, it can feel like pressure instead of grace. Even more so when you have been carefully managing your expectations for years. I need to talk to you about that fear. In spite of your fear, you were still valid. It has never done that. God wasn't against you. The 4 times He reached out to you, and you almost turned away. He was seeing the growth of someone who didn't have the full interior architecture that was needed to receive what was being made. Not being ready to hold something is different from not being able to receive it. Now, I'll tell you an old story that will help you understand why this 5th time is different from the first 4. There is a word in the original Hebrew language that does not literally mean the same thing in English. It's called pakad. In this case, it means a lot more than the general idea of visit or think back. The word pakad refers to an appearance that is planned and timed by God. God moving towards someone with purpose and accuracy, not just passing by, but planning the meeting from a place where they can see everything that the other person can't. That is Pakad, when the Bible says that God remembered Noah during the flood. That is Pakad, when he opened Rachel's womb after years of not being able to have children. This word is used for divine appointments that were meant to happen even before the person being told about them knew what to expect. You're having a Pakad moment. I'm not making this up. This is an intentional visit from your Father, who has been planning your life to get to this point with more patience and accuracy than you have given him credit for. I want to show you something about the third time, because it was important that it was different from the first two. You were more open the third time. What the weight of everything you had been through had done was something that happens when you let difficulty do its real work. It made them less proud, not broken you, but made a way for you to go. When the third time around came around, you had been through enough to know that life was not as simple as it seemed. You had been through enough to feel in the everyday pain that wouldn't go away. What was missing when you only lived in the realm of what you could handle and explain? So, when God reached out to you a third time, it could have been through a song that played at the exact moment your defenses were weakest, a conversation that went in a direction neither of you had planned, or a night when the quiet in your house felt alive, attentive, and full of something that didn't have a name. You leaned in. You could feel it. In a language older than any human language, something real was almost about to come your way. It had your name written on it, and you were all set to receive it. You were called away by something else, or the moment passed before you could decide what to do with it. Otherwise, you promised yourself that you'd come back to this. But when you did, the door was gone. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad about missing an appointment. I'm telling you this so you can understand what the Lord saw in the third moment. He saw someone get ready, not finished, not whole, not fully formed, but ready enough. He also wrote it down. The next time I reach for this one, he said, I will make it harder to leave. I will make the door more visible, and the pull stronger, and the cost of not entering more apparent. That is why the fourth time felt different. That is why you are here now, at the fifth. If there is something in your chest that recognizes itself in these words, if something in you is responding to the truth in what you are hearing right now, type 111 below. Type it as a marker that you arrived here for a reason, and you know it. There is something even deeper waiting beneath everything I have just shown you. And it changes the way you understand not just these 4 times, but the whole architecture of what has been building in your life. The 4th time God reached toward you was the one that should have been impossible to dismiss, because by then he had calibrated the approach to you specifically. He had studied every pattern of your hesitation with the thoroughness of a creator who knows the work he made. And the 4th time, he came through the one channel that was the hardest to argue away. Not through something abstract or easily explained, through something that arrived in the specific language of your specific interior, through the exact words or circumstances or encounters that landed in the place inside you that is not accessed by ordinary logic, and you still almost left. I want to hold that with you for a moment without judgment, and I want to show you what was actually happening in that 4th moment, because the fact that you almost walked away, even then, evidence that something is broken in you. It is evidence of something else entirely. It is evidence of a pattern that has been running quietly in the background of your story for a very long time. A pattern that belongs not to failure, but to the specific formation of someone who was built to carry more than the ordinary, and who therefore senses the weight of the ordinary more acutely than most people do. In the 1st book of Samuel, chapter 3, there is a young man sleeping in the tabernacle of the Lord. The ark of God is nearby. The priest Eli is settled for the night, and in the quiet of that sacred space, God speaks. He calls the young man Samuel by name. Samuel wakes up, hears the voice, assumes it belongs to the old priest, and runs to Eli. He says, "Here I am." And Eli says, "I didn't call you. Once more, go back and lie down." 3 times the voice calls, and 3 times Samuel gets up and goes to Eli, interpreting the divine appointment as something ordinary. 3 times the sacred gets reclassified as the natural, not because Samuel lacked faith, not because Samuel lacked devotion, but because he had not yet been given the interior framework to recognize what God sounded like when God spoke directly to him. And the reason that story matters for you right now is not the part about Samuel eventually recognizing the voice. The reason it matters is the patience of the one calling 3 times without frustration, without withdrawing the invitation, without choosing someone else who would have recognized it faster, simply calling again and again and again and again. You are Samuel at the threshold of the 4th call. You have been a person who hears the voice, who rises toward it, who leans in its direction, but who has not yet had someone tell you what you are actually hearing and what to do with it. That is part of what is happening right now. As CTA Turi Novelas, as this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says, this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Now, let me name what the pattern actually is, because naming it breaks its power. There is a resistance that arrives in the lives of people like you. People who were built for things that exceed the ordinary expectations of the environment they grew up in. This resistance does not come from lack of desire. It comes from the opposite. It comes from the recognition, sometimes only half-conscious, that if this invitation is real, if this door genuinely leads where it appears to lead, nothing in the organized structure of the life you have been managing will look the same afterward. The routines that anchor you, the identity that feels known, the expectations you have calibrated carefully to protect yourself from the full weight of hope that fails. All of it would need to renegotiate around a life that was actually moving forward toward the thing you were built for. And part of you knows that. And that part has been pulling the emergency brake every time you got close enough for it to be real. This is not failure. This is actually a form of intelligence. You sense the size of what is on the other side of the door. The problem is that the emergency brake was installed to protect a smaller life. And you were not built for a smaller life. There is a man who appears in the books of Kings who became one of the most powerful prophets in all of Scripture. His name was Elijah, and there was a moment in his story that does not fit the version of prophetic greatness that most people tell. He had just stood before 450 prophets on a mountain and watched fire fall from heaven in response to his prayer. He had witnessed something so undeniable that every person present fell on their faces. And then a single threat came, a single word of opposition from a woman named Jezebel, and Elijah ran. He ran so far and so fast that he fell down under a tree in the desert. Then he said something that no one thinks a prophet who calls on fire would say. It is enough. I've had enough. Take my life. This man, who had watched fire descend from the sky, was hiding from a single letter, because the very intensity of what he had been allowed to carry had opened something in him that made him feel more exposed, not less. The closer you get to the real fire, the more acute the awareness of your own vulnerability becomes. The fourth time pattern, the almost left again pattern, is this. The closer you have come to the genuine thing, the more the size of it has triggered the emergency brake. And what did God do with Elijah in that desert? He did not send another fire. He did not send a rebuke or a lecture on the inconsistency of running away after watching heaven respond to your request. He sent an angel who touched Elijah and said, "Arise and eat." He let Elijah sleep. He fed him. And then, at the next appointed moment, he asked a question. "What are you? Where are you?" Not as an accusation, but as an invitation, like someone saying, "I know exactly how you got here. I watched the whole thing, and I'm still mad at you." This fifth moment has a tone of, "Now, let's talk about where you are going next." God is not asking you, "What are you doing here?" with a tone of disappointment. He asks it with the steady voice of a father who found you right where you are, at the threshold of the fifth gate, and who wants to walk you through it. Take a moment to catch your breath. Before we go any further, just see where you are. You have been carrying the weight of every almost for a long time. The times you turned away, you no longer have to carry those things with you. No one is holding them against you. There is only the forward of a life about to open to what it was always moving toward. And here is something I want you to hold before we move on to the next part of this message. There are researchers, a small group of neuroscientists, led by a doctor who has spent 20 years in a lab in New York, studying something specific about how the human mind was built in childhood. Most adults have lost this ability without realizing it was taken away, and almost no one knows how to restore it. I will tell you what they found before the end of this message. But for now, I want you to hold a single question. What if the reason your mind doesn't always feel as clear and creative as it did when you were young? What if something was taken from you at the neural level? And what if it can come back? Hold on, the answer is coming. Type 444 below if that question opens something in you. Type it as a claim on what your mind was built to do. There is something even deeper beneath the fourth time, something that recontextualizes the entire shape of your story and makes the fifth moment make sense in a way it could not have made sense before. There is a truth that most people walking a chosen path never fully receive. The 4 times God reached toward you, and you almost left, were not failures. They were chapters. They were the specific and sequential formation that made it possible for you to stand where you are now and actually receive what is inside the 5th gate. The version of you who stood at the 1st gate could not have carried what this gate contains. And the distance between that version and this one is not emptiness. It is everything you have become. I want to show you this through the life of a man named Joseph. Joseph was 17 years old when the dreams came, 2 of them, both pointing with unmistakable clarity towards something large and specific about the future that God had written for his life. Sheaves of wheat bowing down before his sheaf, the sun and the moon and 11 stars all paying him reverence. He did not ask for the dreams. He did not set out to have them. They arrived the way divine assignments often arrive, not through a process you can manufacture, but through an event that you can't fully explain or ignore. The story then turned around and went the other way. They threw him in a pit and sold him to strangers. They took him to Egypt, but they didn't protect him or give him any status. He did his job well, but he was wrongly accused and sent to prison. He helped a man understand his dreams, but the man forgot about him for 2 years. During that time, the man's dreams stayed with him, but he couldn't see anything moving. At every point in the story, it looked like a door was closed, and each season seemed to prove that the dream wasn't true. But each closed door was actually a way to get to the next part of the story, where God was preparing Joseph for what was to come. The pit wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The prison wasn't abandonment, it was the classroom, where a man who had talked too much about his future gained the wisdom and depth needed to lead a country. The cupbearer who forgot about him did not get in the way of the promise. He was the mechanism by which the promise arrived at exactly the moment the right version of Joseph existed to receive it. You need to hear this. The 4 times you almost left were not 4 failures. They were 4 preparation zones. Each one was building something in you that could not have been built any other way. The patience you developed in seasons that felt like they were standing still. The discernment you gained by navigating circumstances that did not fit the expected story. The ability to hold a sense of calling without requiring it to be confirmed by visible evidence in every passing moment. The resilience that grew through the particular refining pressure of being someone built for more, living in seasons that did not yet show it. None of that was wasted. Every single bit of it is about to be put to use. Now, I want to give you a framework for the 5 gates, because the architecture of what has been happening in your life has a structure. And when you can see the structure, you can stop fighting the process and start walking through it. The first gate is contact. The calling brushes against you and asks only for awareness. Many people receive it and let it pass. The second gate is recognition. The pattern becomes visible across more than one moment. Something in you begins to identify what it is feeling as more than feeling. The third gate is proximity. You are close enough to feel the gravity of what is on the other side. Close enough for the emergency brake to activate strongly, because proximity makes the invitation real enough to carry the full weight of what saying yes costs. The fourth gate is decision, not acknowledgement, the actual choosing. And the fifth gate, the one you are standing at right now, you are not being given a break. You are being given a mission. The version of you that is arriving at this gate is exactly the version that the mission needs. If something in you changed when I said that, if there is a place in your spirit that recognized the word commission, type I receive it below. Type it as the beginning of your yes. Before I show you the final truth of this message, I want to make something clear. What's coming is big, and big things land better on a clear mind. Here is what we have established. You have a pattern that looks like hesitation, but rather the mark of someone who understands the importance of what is being offered. The 4 gates before this one were not failed attempts. Instead, they were formations that built something that could not have been built any other way. You are not behind, you were always on time. And this 5th gate is not a second chance. It is the first moment in which the fully formed version of you is present enough to receive what was always intended for your hands. Hold that. Now, here is the thing that breaks everything open. The 5th time is not the 5th chance God offered you. It is the first time you are fully prepared to receive what the first 4 were pointing toward. Think about what that means. It means the previous 4 times were not failed attempts to give you the same thing 5 times. They were sequential stages in the making of someone who could hold a specific thing that could not have been held at any earlier stage. The dream existed from before the first gate, but the person who could carry the dream without being destroyed by it was built gate by gate, season by season, almost by almost. And you are that person now. You are standing at the 5th gate as the completed version of a formation that took everything the previous 4 gates contained. And I want to speak what I hear the Father saying over you right now. I hear it with the weight of something that has been waiting to land in your specific life for a long time. I never stopped, I hear him say. Not once, not even for one day. Not a single season did I stop working on the parts of your story that you can't see. I was building it behind the walls you were looking at, so you couldn't see it. But I was there while they were waiting. I was there almost. I was in the pit, the jail, and the 2 years of forgetfulness. I was there all along, and I'm still here. You should know something about how your mind was made, because what I'm about to say has to do with how the fifth gate opens differently from the remaining 4. This has to do with the part of your body that was made to hold the weight. What's on the other side of this door? A Nobel Prize was given to Dr. Roger Sperry in 1981 for proving something that should have changed how we think about human potential, but mostly stayed in the lab. This is what he proved. There are 2 separate hemispheres in the brain, each with its own functions and ways of understanding the world. The left hemisphere works in a series of steps. The right hemisphere works intuitively and holistically. And when those 2 halves fully connect and work together as a single system, something happens that neither halves can do on their own. The state of flow, the hour moment in one breath, the sudden clarity that clears away years of fog, the creative idea that can solve in 5 minutes what 5 months of logic has not been able to. The feeling of being fully alive, fully connected, and fully in sync with something bigger than how you normally do things. There is something called whole brain activation going on here, and every person was born with it fully operating. Picture what a child is like before everything starts. Kids don't feel bad when they ask questions. A child makes connections between things that an adult would think have nothing to do with each other. A child receives with open hands, without the internal committee that every adult has set up to check things out before letting them land. Children scored at the level of creative genius 98% of the time. That ability is still held by less than 1 in 1,000 adults. Between when you were a child and now, something happened. You weren't to blame. It wasn't being lazy. It was not a flaw in his character. It was the world's planned and gradual suppression of the genius state by a need for you to be more useful than you were created to be. School taught the left side of the brain to be stronger than the right. Adults' brains were trained to work in a narrow range of frequencies that help them be productive and stay alive. The activation of the whole brain, the things that made you smart as a kid, were not lost. It was turned down. The switch was off. I want to talk about a New York City woman. Her family had a story about bad luck that had been passed down for generations. Their mom always said they were born under the wrong star. That company fired her dad after 22 years of hard work, and 8 months after he got the promotion, the company shut down. This woman had taken on the belief, not consciously, but in that place where family stories live when no one is thinking about them, that there was something in her family tree that stopped the good thing from happening. That success would always be just outside of what was possible for her family. She had tried to calm down. She had tried frequency tracks. A lot of people in the self-help world had told her about manifestation techniques, vision boards, and other things she could try. It didn't change at the level she needed it to. When she heard about the work of a neurologist named Dr. Daniel Barron, she was skeptical in the way that people are skeptical when they have been let down so many times that they have built walls around new hope. She tried it anyway. Something changed in the weeks that followed, but she couldn't put her finger on it because it didn't feel like anything new was coming. It felt like something was coming back. She seemed to have been living at a small part of her full potential for so long that she had forgotten that the part wasn't the whole. There was a clarity, but not the dramatic clarity of a sudden vision. Instead, it was the steady clarity of a mind that had found the part of itself it had been running without. She didn't have to do anything for the relationship to warm up again after it had gone cold. A work situation that she hadn't been able to change for 3 years changed so easily that it surprised her. It wasn't optimism or positive thinking that made me feel like anything was possible. It was something deeper. Something about how the mind she was working with actually worked. Later, she said, what I thought was a family curse wasn't a curse. It was a missing switch. When I saw what was waiting for you at the 5th gate, I thought of her right away, because what she found, something that Dr. Daniel Barron and a group of neuroscientists worked on for years and finally made easy to use, was made for someone who has been close to a breakthrough and keeps finding themselves one gate away from it. The name for it is the Genius Switch. It's not a brainwave track. It's not an app for meditation. It's not a neurofeedback machine that costs $7,000. It is a planned 8-minute sound sequence. Dr. Barron and his team use what they call neural sync technology to connect the two halves of the brain in a way that is similar to how the brain was meant to work when it was young and not narrowed. This builds on the Nobel Prize award-winning work of Dr. Roger Sperry. 8 minutes with headphones on and eyes closed. That's all there is to it. Around the lab, Doctor for years, Barone and his co-workers worked late into the night to condense what used to take an hour of clinical neural sync work into something that a person can listen to in the quiet of a room before going to work in the morning, while everyone else is still asleep and the mind hasn't been fully used up yet. 8 minutes that make your brain do what it was meant to do before the world shut down some of its parts. You've heard claims about this tool before. You've probably seen or heard of things that said they would do something similar, but didn't. I get why people are skeptical, and I want to talk about it right away. There are a lot of brainwave tracts and sound frequency tools available. The wave itself is the only part of the picture that most of them aim for, not all of the brain. Dr. Barone gives a clear explanation. He did not use brainwave technology to build what he did. Synchronization of the hemispheres and activation of the whole brain. That is a completely different goal. In music, that's the difference between tuning just one string and tuning the whole thing. There is no trend or theory that it is based on either. Docker, it's the Nobel Prize. 1981 by Roger Sperry. That is the strap. The way to get there is useful. When it was being made, Dr. Barone's co-workers thought this was worth $500 and said it would be a great deal at that price. The price of a neurofeedback machine for home use is 7,000 Zerosen. The cost of a clinical session is $300 an hour. The Genius Switch was sold for $49, which was more than 40% less than what it was worth. Because you've been following this message up to this point and are now at the 5th gate. With every season of formation behind you and the door in front of you, you can get an extra 10 today, bringing the total to our 39. Besides that, you get 4 extra things. A guided visualization from a top-rated Calm creator that shows you how your life will change in 4 different areas. A grocery list of the 10 most common foods in the US that make you feel foggy, headed along with 5 quick tips that will save you more than $100 a month. A book about manifestation that is more than 100 years old and the basis of all the modern techniques you have seen for getting more money. And a printed infographic with 5 habits for the new life you are starting. There is an unlimited 100% money back guarantee that covers everything. You can listen 80 times or 8 times. You get your money back in full if it doesn't work for you. That's not a promise to sell something. People on your team are sure of this because they've seen what it does for people who came to it in the same way you are. Before we go any further, I need to make one point clear. You can find tracks online that claim to do what Dr. Barone talks about. He was ready for this. His team looked at the tracks that showed up after word got out about his research. The vast majority of them did not have any neural sync technology at all. They were given that label because it gets people's attention. The actual sequence that contains the mechanism can only be found on Dr. Barone's team direct page, and he explains why that is the case. The link is in the comment that was pinned and in the copy below. If what I just said hits home with you, that's where the path is. Type 555 below if you feel like this is connected to what was waiting inside the fifth gate. Type it to show that the change has already started. CTA theories, you are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Right now, I want to take you to the end of this message. I'd like to ask you to do something with me first, though. Picture the you that was there the first time God reached out to you in your mind. That person might be younger, carrying less, or just farther along the journey than you are now. Think about that past self and find something true about them. That person had good reason to be scared. You were right to let that person think about it. With the tools they had at that time, that person did everything that could be done. That's not what was wrong. They were still coming together. Put yourself in the present, where you are standing at the fifth gate, and picture the past you watching from behind you. Keep an eye on you this time, making sure you don't leave. Seeing you reach out to the thing that has been reaching for you throughout all of your formation, and open your hands to receive it. Pay attention to how that feels. In no way as a workout, as if it were happening in your body right now. That picture has a settling to it. Something is right. That's not your imagination making you feel better. The voice in your head is telling you, this is why we did everything. Let that sink in. There has been something in this space since before you got here. There was a weight that turned into warmth, a shaking that didn't seem to have a reason, or the kind of focus that comes when something you've been waiting for finally appears. Today wasn't like any other day. This was a planned meeting between you and the Father, who has been watching your story with full attention and working in the background during every season you thought was empty, to prepare the way for this very moment with more care and precision than you can currently understand. And first things first, this is what I want to say. Thank you for coming. Thanks for coming back 4 times when you were about to leave. Thank you for the stubbornness of your spirit, which kept leaning towards something it couldn't quite name or completely dismiss. That was just a trait, not a flaw. It was a trait. It was the part of you that wouldn't settle for a life that wasn't as good as the one you were meant to have. You've been carrying things that were never meant to be in your hands. You felt the weight of seasons that didn't make sense at the time. These are the quiet times when you reached for something but fell short by one step. The low-level grief that comes from feeling called but not knowing how to fully enter. When you're tired from being strong in a way that most people don't fully understand and that you don't get to show off very often. I want to talk about those things straight up. You can let go of anything that has been waiting for another disappointment. Let go of anything that wants the good news to be shown to be false, the hope to be shown to be a mistake, or the 5th time, to end the same way the 4th time did. You're not being set up for another almost. There is no going back on commissionings, so the 5th gate is for them. Some parts of you are about to come back. The clarity that used to come on its own, the creative juices that used to flow from a part of you that has been stuck for longer than you can remember. The feeling of being connected to something bigger than yourself that makes the impossible seem possible to handle. The knowing that comes before the proof. The gut feeling you learned to doubt because the world couldn't explain it. It never went wrong with that. Your brain was working at the level it was meant to at that point. You have been picked, not as a name, not as a title you wear because it sounds cool, as a truth about the building blocks of who you are and where you want to go. Your family has been stuck in the same patterns for longer than anyone in your family can remember. You were made to break those patterns. In the specific inheritance of your story, you were made to go where no one else has gone before. You were made to move things forward that are bigger than the words you have now. That's not being cocky. That's what assignment means. The fifth gate is now open, I say over you. I declare that what was locked up last season is now open. With the accuracy of a God who never makes plans without thinking them through. I declare that the mind he gave you is back to working at full capacity. It was full, whole, and bright before the world made it smaller. I swear that the tasks that are waiting for the version of you that exists right now are coming at you at a speed that will shock you. You're not behind. It's not too late. You've arrived at the exact time that the shape was always pointing to. Take in every word of this, not as a duty or a performance, but with the open and quiet hands of someone who has waited long enough to know that God always delivers what he plans. And without a mistake. That's how it is. You can type, I am ready, below if everything in this message has made you feel something real. Type it as the first words of your new life, to let everyone know that you are not nearly reaching the fifth gate. It's inside you. If this message made you feel something, gently press the like button. Do this not to show appreciation for a space or a channel, but to tell your spirit, I felt this to be true, and I am not dismissing it. I am letting it land. If you think this message is for someone in your life, someone you have been watching get close to a breakthrough and then pull back, this is for them. Someone who doesn't know how long they've been in the fourth gate pattern. Tell them about this. You feel led to be the voice that reaches them the fifth time in a way that none of the other voices quite did. Not because you want to send them content, but because. Follow this space if you want to stay in this space and keep getting what has been put here for people who are walking the same path you are. You won't need an algorithm because your spirit will know what to do next. Don't forget what Dr. F. Barone found. The smart switch isn't a trick. It's not a quick way out. It's 8 minutes of sound that do what your brain did when you were 8 years old, before the world made it more limited. That's how you get back to the feeling that you were meant for more than the life you're living now. The link is right where I said it would be. It is ready to go. Do well, chosen one. You finally made it through 4 seasons of almost missing the fifth gate. What's on the other side has been prepared just for the version of you that came here today. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description, pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step.